it sounds like German. And then I looked around and there were all these people on the plane who were talking this language, thinking in the language, dreaming in the language. And I just thought, wow, what a world. So I was just absolutely fascinated that whole day, walking around, reading signs, and I got Teach Yourself Dutch for Christmas, and that was where the hobby all started.
Well, I can assure you that Dutch is indeed an extremely useful language wherever you go. But of course, speaking all these languages opened windows to the world, I suppose, instead of just being confined to your own island.
Absolutely. I think I like to think of languages as like a box in a way, and like the English box is very big. There's a lot of people in it, but it is a box nonetheless. And when I started to learn other languages, it was sort of like I was climbing over the sides of that box. And eventually I got to the point where I could look out and see that actually the world is very different out there. And we're in an interesting time actually in the world, because the world's becoming smaller. A lot of people, most people in the world now are sort of learning other languages. It may be the case that they're learning English, but nevertheless, being bilingual and multilingual is quickly becoming the norm everywhere in the world in order to be able to use the internet, in order to be able to get jobs, in order to just exist. The only places where it's not becoming the norm are the UK and the US, Australia, English-speaking communities of South Africa, where people have this attitude that everyone's learning my language, so I don't need to learn other people's languages. And as a result, people are not benefiting from the huge benefits that we know exist when people are multilingual in terms of cognitive, capacities that increase, but also just the cultural aspect of being able to speak to someone else in their language, of being able to receive information from other countries in the original is just missing for English-speaking people around the world who believe everyone is learning my language. And I think that's a very worrying tendency. And I think that's got a lot to answer for the fact that the rise of, far-right isolationist politics has been most concentrated in the UK and the US. These are the two countries where we still see this kind of very backwards trend to the rest of the world on a large scale, supported by the majority of the countries in terms of their politics.
Yes. That's a very interesting point indeed. Now, I invited you on this podcast because although you're still living in the UK, you're going to become a Brefugee very soon. You have decided to leave the country where you were born and raised because of Brexit. So what's your plan and where are you going to?
Yes, I am going to be a Brefugee. Every day I thank the universe that my grandmother was an immigrant from Greece, because it means that I was able to get Greek citizenship and remain a European citizen regardless of what happens. I mean, being Greek and British is not the most kind of stable relationship with the European Union. You kind of feel like you're doing the splits across the continent, and at any moment one of them might break off. But for the time being, I remain a European citizen. So my plan is to go to Barcelona. I mean, exercise freedom of movement, spin the globe, and choose where you want to live. There's personal reasons behind that. Some of my lifelong friends who I grew up with in this country actually moved to Barcelona around the time of the referendum because they were very unhappy about the political climate in this country and the debate. But also there's financial reasons. I mean, living in London is great. There's many wonderful things about it. It's my home. It's where I grew up. But financially, it's brutal. There's no opportunities to kind of take risks because just the thought of going 1 month without a stable income means that you're facing financial ruin. In a place like Barcelona, where living costs are, they're not the cheapest in Europe, but it's still about 40% cheaper than where I live currently. There's a bit more freedom to experiment with things, to acquire new skills, and to have a bit of patience with the way your career goes. So I just thought it would be a good idea to go there, relax a little bit from the grind of working in the UK economy, and just start to see kind of how life pans out. So I don't have a very concrete plan, but I have a ticket, I have a place to live. I know some people there, and I'm looking forward to the adventure.
Yeah, sure. Do you speak Catalan already?
I do speak Catalan. It's not my strongest language, but I'm planning to learn more when I get there. Just because, interestingly, I mean, I speak Spanish, but when I've spoken the little bits of Catalan that I know to people, they can tell that I speak it with a foreign accent, that I make mistakes, but they're just so happy that I'm making an effort that the reaction is really positive. So I'd really like to keep that up.
Now, you're leaving because of Brexit, and you're not the only one. How do you see the future of the country that you're going to leave behind, your old and divided country?
It's hard to say, really. I think there's a lot of fundamental problems that we've always had, which as a result of this are now coming to light. So the one thing that just categorizes life in the UK beyond anything that we don't talk about is class. And there was very much a class division in the Brexit debate, and then in the coverage subsequently. It was seen that Leave was very much a working class vote, whereas Remain was kind of a middle class vote. I don't know how much we're reading into that, but at least those issues are starting to come to the surface, which means that we're starting to discuss them. We're not really having a good discussion about them yet, but it's finally on people's minds. The other thing is, we need to deal with our own past better. I think we need to understand the fact that this nostalgic view of Britain as an empire and a world power was actually a very bad thing for many people. It's actually not a good thing to travel the world, taking over other people's countries, forcing them to speak your language and educating them that they're inferior to you. That's just not a good thing. Yet, an enormous number of people in the UK believe that the British Empire was a force for good in the world. We really need to address that, because that attitude has led us to believe that we don't need to cooperate with our European partners because we are somehow a global nation that can do better on our own. I don't think we really know what we mean by that, but that's what people say. So these are the debates that we're starting to have now in the country, and I really hope that over the next generation, which is what I think it will take, those debates will play out and we'll start to have some answers to those questions, and we'll start to understand what being British really means beyond the kind of PR and the hype of James Bond and things like that. So that's the positive side. On the negative side, I think things are going to get a lot worse. I can't think of a single part of life that's going to be improved by leaving the European Union. I think we're going to become more isolationist. I think we're going to become poorer. And certainly our reputation, our standing in the world is already in tatters.
Does it make you sad or angry? How are you feeling about the fact that you're going to leave the UK?
I feel very happy. I feel like my future is no longer bound up with the horrendous mistakes and mismanagement of our political class. I feel like Theresa May doesn't get to decide what happens to my savings anymore. I'm going to move it to, I'm going to move my whole life to Europe, which is a place where there's just a lot more stability, which I know sounds strange if you think about the European crisis, but the fact that you've got so many different people and so many different countries coming together to try and work out solutions is a lot more reassuring to me than being held hostage to the whims of a kind of populist government that doesn't really want to be in power, which is what I see things happening at the moment. So I feel happy. I feel relieved. I feel like I woke up on the 24th of June, 2016 with a splitting headache, and it's only started to pass once I booked my one-way flight out.
So you're a happy refugee. Well, thank you very much, Alex Rawlings. Your website is alexrawlings.co.uk. Are you going to change that into .eu?
I have actually also got alexrawlings.eu. So we'll see.
Okay. Well, I can really recommend your book, How to Speak Any Language Fluently. And I wish you mucha suerte in Barcelona. Alex, thanks very much.
Muchas gracias. Dankjewel.
Alsjeblieft. Well, that's it for now. I hope you have enjoyed this podcast. You can join the conversation about Brexit on Twitter or on Facebook at Channel Fog. You can also email me on fog@foginthechannel.eu. And as per this week, you can also find the podcast on europaunited.eu. It's a website promoting the European debate. Have a look at it. If you're interested in European affairs, it has loads of interesting articles. And if you happen to be in Paris, this show is now also broadcast on World Radio Paris, on air every Monday at 11:30 a.m. and on Thursdays at 5:30 p.m. Please share this podcast with your friends or your enemies or your neighbors, whether they are leavers or remainers. But if you happen to be a leaver, you can also leave something else, and that's a review on iTunes. I'll be back next week with some more dense fog from the isolated continent. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Brexit means Brexit, and we're going to make a success of it.